Hello, you sports fans out there. A little throwback right there. And welcome to this installment of the Housey Sports Talk. I'm Aaron Gemmel. Joining the show today is none other than Riley Bullough. Riley is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and Tennessee Titan and Michigan State Spartan. His family has been a huge influence on Michigan State football. We're going to get into that. But before that, let's get the opening credits started and let's get this show going. Started. So start off, where are you from? And besides playing football, what sports did you play in high school?
So I'm from Traverse City, Michigan. Growing up, played we played football, obviously, basketball, a little bit of track when we were younger. But it was mainly growing up. It was football, basketball, and did a lot of weightlifting in the off season.
All right. So next, I want to talk about your last name's history at Michigan State. Your grandfather Hank played from 51 to 54. Your dad Shane from 83 to 86. Your uncle Chuck from 88 to 91. Your brother Max started in 2010. Then you, and then your little brother Byron. Then your sister was even on the state cross country team. So your entire family being Spartans, was there any doubt in your mind that you were going to be a Michigan State Spartan when you were older?
I took a few trips. I went to Iowa a couple times. I went to Wisconsin. I love those schools, but in the end, like you said, I just have so much Michigan State in me. Since I was born, we've been going to Michigan State games. Um, and kind of when I was taking those trips in the back of my mind, I knew, I'm going to end up at Michigan State, but I really just wanted to go out and see what was out there because I'd known Michigan State, and at the time when I was getting recruited, my older brother Max was at State, so I knew all of his friends. I knew all the coaches since middle school. So again, in the end, I really couldn't get away from MSU.
So yeah, like you said, your brother was already there in Michigan State. So he was the senior captain. So what was it like walking into camp for the first time, knowing that your older brother was a senior captain?
So my first year was 2012. So my older brother Max was a junior at the time. There was a lot of pressure, but there was always pressure. There's pressure in high school, middle school. There'd always been that there up until that point. But it was a little bit intimidating at first. I'm coming from northern Michigan and playing smaller schools, and then going to Michigan State. Everyone's massive, everyone's fast. It was a big transition, just all of it. And then on top of that, kind of trying to follow in Max's footsteps. At first, it was pretty intimidating, but as you get reps, as you go through practice, as you get better, as you make some plays, you start to gain some confidence.
Yeah. So yeah, in your freshman year, which I was shot when I relooked at your stats because it's been a long time. You came in as a running back and a linebacker. You had 83 yards that rushing in your freshman year. Did you play both linebacker, running back during a game your freshman year? And what made you switch permanently over to linebacker?
Yeah, so I came in recruited as a linebacker. I'd never played running back really growing up. I was always a quarterback. So it was spring of 2013. So going into my redshirt freshman year, Coach D gave me a call while I was in class, actually. And he's like, come to my office. And he's like, what do you think about playing running back? And I thought he meant fullback. I didn't know he meant tailbacks. I'd never played it. So started off my redshirt freshman camp at tailback with Jeremy Langford, Nick Hill, all those guys. We had a great room. But in the end, I just wasn't a natural tailback. It wasn't my thing. So it's ultimately when when Jeremy took over, and he had a fantastic year. And then pretty much halfway through that year, or towards the end, I moved back to linebacker and stayed there.
Okay, and that year was special for Spartan fans everywhere. You guys reached the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. Tell me what it was like as a freshman being at that title game, and take me through that practice. Take me through practice that week leading up to the Big Ten title game.
That was a great year. One of the most talented teams I think in MSU history was our 2013 team, and it was intense. It was fun. It was an awesome time. I was playing on some special teams at the time, and no one really gave us a chance, I feel like, against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And then we came out and won and headed to the Rose Bowl. It was an experience for all of us that we'll never forget, for sure.
Yeah, so as time was ticking off, like the final seconds are ticking off in the fourth quarters, you guys are up by 10 or 13 against Ohio State. When did it set in your mind that you were a Big Ten champ?
Towards the end of that game, Jeremy had a running touchdown. I don't know how much time was left, but that pretty much sealed it. And really after that, we kind of started celebrating and, realizing we're actually going to the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl is something that we'd all watched growing up. MSU hadn't been there since the late 80s. And just the fact that we were going to LA, going to Pasadena, it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that game as a 13-year-old kid, and I was overcome with joy just to see you guys, everybody win that game. It was awesome. It was unbelievable, and we knew what game, the Rose Bowl was next, and we were just like one more game. So now after beating Ohio State, you guys, would head to Pasadena for the 100th Rose Bowl game against Stanford. Tell me, did you guys do anything for fun during that week when you were there? And what was Coach Narduzzi's mindset in shutting down Stanford's offense for that game?
Yeah, so our bowl game, our weeks, you go when you have a bowl game, you usually go for about a week. There's a bunch of stuff planned. So, we got to see a lot of different things. It was awesome. It was a lot of people's first time being out in LA, being to California. So just traveling to restaurants together, doing different things it's just those memories are the things that you remember. Obviously you remember the game, but you remember the camaraderie and the fun that you had together. And Coach Dews, he was just typical Coach Dews. He's a hard ass. His thing was, we got to stop the run. We got to stop the run. Obviously Stanford they were a running team back then. So they want to run it down your throat. And our motto that week was, we got to be tough. If we can stop the run, our offense is going to give us a chance to win.
Yeah, because I talked to one of your about a couple months ago. I talked to one of your teammates in Kyler Ellsworth, and he said you guys went to Disneyland and stuff like that for a day and stuff like. So that's awesome. So you guys would ultimately win that final Rose Bowl game. I call it the final Rose Bowl game because it changed. The format changed after that. If you guys won that game, it came down to that play that everyone in Spartan Nation will remember as the stop. So tell me, what was going through your mind as Kyler and Darian lined up for that play for 4th and 1?
We knew that Stanford was going to do something like that. We had practiced against that play, mainly those guys. I wasn't playing too much defense at the time. I was kind of going back and forth. But Kyler, Darian, incredibly smart players. So they'd studied, they were expecting it, and it happened. But, even when a certain play is coming, you still have to stop it. And they did. And, it was just, an incredible moment. Kyler came running to the sideline. We got a big hug. And, just so happy for those guys, happy for everyone on the team, the coaches. It was, again, it's something that we'll all remember forever.
Yeah, I mean, just as soon as those two made that ultimate stop, you guys were the Rose Bowl champions. It was celebration time. So so as soon as the game was done and everything calmed down, what did you guys do to celebrate out in California?
So, usually after the bowl games, it's a big party at the hotel. So everyone and their family is all back in the hotel. So that's what we did. I had a bunch of friends there, I had family there. and so did everyone else. We just got together and had a great time. It was just, it was insane to think that we just won the Rose Bowl. That was a special year. We had so many great games, great moments, and then to end it with that, with everyone in the hotel together, it was just, it was something special.
It was, it was a special moment just for us fans watching it, but to be a player, I couldn't imagine winning playing a college game, but let alone winning a 100th Rose Bowl like that. So in that offseason, your brother Max signed with the Houston Texans, but just as your older brother left, your youngest brother Byron came on at State. So tell me, what was it like knowing that your oldest brother's now in the NFL, but now your youngest brother's now playing with you?
Yeah, it was awesome. I got the chance in high school to play with Max and then also play with Byron. And then I got to do it again in college. So there's not many people that can say that they've done that. So just to be able to play in college with Max and then have Byron come in was great. So thankful for that. It was a lot of fun. And I got to learn a lot from Max when he was there, and then I think I got to teach Byron a lot too when he came. So it all kind of came full circle and worked out great.
Yes, for that next season, in 2014, you guys would put up a record of 11-2, make the Cotton Bowl against Baylor. And you guys were considered out of that game starting around the third quarter, but then you came one of the greatest comebacks for you guys. But talk to other teammates of yours on the offensive end on what that spark was for them on the offensive end. But on defense, what was the spark for you guys?
We just had the attitude that we were never out of it. Even though we were down a lot, we still on the sidelines felt like we had a chance. And, all the fans, the Baylor fans, they thought the game was over, by the end of the third quarter. And we were such a tight-knit group that, we just stuck together. And, we knew how good we were. We knew we had talent. And if we kept playing, we would always have a chance to win. We just kept grinding back and gave us a chance at the end. The offense played great late in the game, and then ultimately we came up with a stop in the end. Had the blocked field goal. So it was just another amazing game. We had so many back then that it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, just that block field goal, because that ultimately would put Baylor up, I think, by 4 scores or something like that. But that's block and that return set up everything to start that comeback, and you guys ended up winning 42-41, which was, and as Spartan fans, we couldn't believe it's like, all right, we just won a Rose Bowl, now we just come back and win a Cotton Bowl in this fashion. It can't get any better than this. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get to the next season in a second, but before that, I do this segment with every guest I've had so far, Riley. So rapid fire 7, just 7 random questions, just to get to know you better, just to know what your favorite interests are. So to start, what type of music would you listen to get pumped up for a game?
I would listen to a lot of rap, but my thing was I would want to stay calm until like an hour or 2 hours before the game. So I would listen to a lot of country before and then kind of change it over to rap, right before the game.
Okay. Favorite barbecue or summertime food to eat?
Pulled pork sandwich, barbecue pulled pork sandwich for sure.
Yes, sir. Favorite place to travel as a player, either as your time as a Spartan or as your time as a pro?
I think playing at the Cowboys Stadium down in Arlington, Jerry's World was pretty cool. I got to play there in college twice, and then got to play there in the NFL as well.
All right. Best concert you've ever been to?
Oh man, there's been a couple, but we saw Eric Church one time when I was in college, and some of my cousins were there. Max was there, and a bunch of my friends. It was downtown in Lansing, and that was one of the best for sure.
All right. With being such a tight group, such a big tight family, what was your favorite family vacation as a kid growing up?
Geez, we had quite a few. It's hard to say. We used to go to Colorado quite a bit we used to go skiing in Colorado a few times. So I would say back in those days when we were all snowboarding and skiing and getting together, that was a lot of fun.
All right. This question goes out to my co-host who couldn't be here today. He's a student at Michigan State, so he wanted me to ask me to ask you this question. Your favorite place to eat at Michigan State?
Depends. Depends on if it's a normal day or if it's a weekend party day. But I used to that's tough. I mean, I really like Wings Over and I really like Cottage Inn.
Okay.
So those two probably are definitely up there.
And finally, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my gosh. Favorite movie? Honestly, one of my favorites is The Big Short. I don't know if you've seen that. It's not too old. I think it's probably 10 years old. It's about the crash in '07 and '08. It's a funny movie. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to give that one a look. So, all right. So that's the end of Rapid Fire 7. So now getting back into more Spartan football. Now, you guys started off 6-0 in 2015, including a 30-10 win at home against my Central Michigan Chippewas. Heading into the big house, heading into the big house against Michigan, and fast forward 59 minutes and 10 seconds into that game. What were your thoughts before the chaos would ensue, and what was going through your mind as Watts Jackson scored? And take me through that whole scenario as soon as he scored, like that entire sequence.
So before we even got to that punt, on defense, we knew we had to get them to go 3-and-out, because if they would have gotten a first down, the game would have been over. So we were focused on getting stops, and fortunately we got 3 stops in a row, so they had to punt. And I wasn't watching when he fumbled the snap and Watts picked it up. I wasn't even watching. The first time I turned around, he was actually almost in the end zone, and my immediate thought was, there's 100% going to be a penalty. So at first I didn't get too, hyped up, because I thought someone probably jumped off sides, or I didn't know what happened.
Or a block in the back or something like that.
Yeah, it could have been anything. I don't know. But when he was in the end zone and there was no flags and it seemed like we actually did score, it was nuts. I remember just screaming at everyone like, did that really just happen? What the hell just happened? And running from one side of the field to the other, seeing the fans. It was absolute chaos.
It was absolute chaos. I have again talked to other teammates of yours, and their different reactions. They're like just their jaws are on the ground. They are just, some of them are just standing, just cold, froze, like they just couldn't believe it. I mean, that game itself, I mean, it just shifted the entire tide of your guys' season as well. I mean, there's probably nothing better as a Spartan taking the air right out of that big house crowd.
Yeah, it was awesome. I would have rather won by like 30 points and really beat them down, but a win is a win. So whenever you can go there and get a win, it's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now you guys that season would make the Big Ten championship against Iowa. What were your thoughts like when you you reached the first one as a freshman, and take me through that final drive as LJ Scott scored the ultimate game winner?
I mean, that drive was incredible. I don't think it gets enough credit. I've never seen a drive like that ever in college, NFL. I mean, it was so long. There were so many close calls. There was a lot of third downs. And it was just to end the way it did, with LJ reaching over, almost getting the ball knocked out. It was just like we had so many crazy games in 2013, 14, and 15. It was unbelievable. It just seemed like they kept happening. And that was another one that just ended that way. And, we were off to play Alabama in the playoff.
Yeah, just like you said earlier, you played in Arlington once as a pro and twice as a Spartan. We already mentioned the first time, and here's the second time playing that first college football playoff, new format. Take me through the atmosphere And what do you think? What did you ultimately think of that playoff experience? And do you think that the playoff should be go back to BCS or expand? Or tell me your thoughts on that.
I don't think it should go back to BCS. I think it's a pretty good format right now. Do I think more teams could maybe be in it? Yeah, but let's say you move it to 8 teams, and then 2 years from then, someone will say, all right, well, we need 16 teams, so it'll just keep going. No one will ever be satisfied. So I think it's a fine format right now. Who knows what it'll be a few years from now? I don't have any issues with it now. But to go back to our game at Alabama, we, defensively, we thought we played a pretty good game for the most part, especially in the first half. And we couldn't put a complete game together, and they ended up winning by a lot. But we felt defensively we matched up well with them. Played great, honestly, the first half, but ultimately just couldn't get enough points on the board to win.
Yeah, I mean, there was a drive late in the second quarter that could have ultimately ended up with a touchdown. It could have shifted the tide there. It was called back and stuff like that. I remember Cook throwing a pass into the end zone that was ultimately called back, and that would have shifted the tide. But you guys, us as Spartan fans at the time couldn't ask for anything more to be a part of that first college football playoff ever, considering about maybe 5 or 6 years old now at this point. It was unbelievable. So now your senior season, you guys went 3-9 that year. So take me through your final game ever in Spartan Stadium. Like, what were your thoughts going in for senior day?
It was just a lot of memories, a lot of emotions. There have been so many great games in there. So we wanted to try and go out with a win. Obviously we were having a down year. There was a lot that went into that year. A lot of things didn't go our way. And we got close. We almost won. We almost beat Ohio State, which would have been great to end up, beating them that year. But it was just a lot of emotions again. And, I thought we played a great game against Ohio State that day. So, I was happy with it. Obviously wanted a better year than we had in 2016, but it didn't happen, and you got to move on and try and learn from it and get better. Absolutely.
So so who do you still keep in contact with from Michigan State? Who do you like? What teammates do you keep in contact with the most? Obviously, besides your brothers.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys I talk to. It's kind of hard to name all of them, but I talked to all the guys you would think. I talked to Connor. I talked to, John Reschke. I talked to Darian Harris. I talked to John Jakubik, Matt Maxud, Tyler O'Connor. All these guys, there's too many to name. We're all still really great friends. We just had a wedding for AJ Troop's wedding a couple weeks ago, and all of us were there. So we got to see a lot of us, and just a great time. Again, we're a tight knit team. So all of us we have group chats, we're always talking. So I think that's a testament to Michigan State, when we were there for sure, is everyone feels like family, and you stay in touch, you become friends for life. And that's definitely, what we are today.
That's awesome. Like I said before, I've talked to Benny. I talked to Benny, Darian, Tabor, Mike's sister Katie, a lot of Spartans from your, Demetrius, a lot of those guys from those teams. So it's just awesome that you guys all stay in touch and such close, stay such close friends now, long after your playing days at Michigan State. So now he was a big influencer in my life and was an impact for the Spartans on special teams and the Spartan community and beyond. So Riley, how did Mike Sadler impact your life?
Mike was great. He was just such a great, fun guy to be around. He, when I came in as a freshman, he lived above my brother Max in their apartment complex that they were in. So I was always over with Mike, and we both play guitar. So we'd always play guitar together. So it was just a awesome guy to know. I'm sure he's looking down laughing at us right now doing this interview. That's just kind of the guy that he was. But I stay in touch with the Sadler family, a lot. They're awesome family, Karen and Katie. And again, Mike, great guy. If you didn't get to know him, you should, because he was just a light. Great guy to be around. Everybody loved him.
He was the legacy celebrations every year are fantastic. Considering last year with COVID and everything goes online, but they still put on a great celebration. And hopefully this year it'll still be back on in Grand Rapids this year again. So now, after your time as a Spartan was done and moving on to the NFL, you signed with Tampa Bay as a free agent. Were there other teams interested in you? And if so, what made you choose Tampa Bay? And what was it like just, when you first arrived in Tampa as a pro?
Yeah, there was quite a few teams that were trying to sign me as a free agent after the draft. But it was just, I had created a relationship with Coach Duffner, who was the linebacker coach there at the time, throughout the combine process. And we met at the combine, and he knew my family pretty well. He knew my grandpa, Hank Bullough. So we had that in common, and it just seemed like a great fit at the time, and it turned out to be a great fit. So, definitely happy I decided to go to Tampa. It's a great city, great fans, and had just awesome teammates there.
Well, yeah, though now that through the reigning NFL champions heading into this season, heading into the 2021 season. So now heading into your first training camp, the team was being featured on HBO's Hard Knocks. There's a section in the series where you were highlighted as an undrafted rookie being mic'd and talking to teammates like one of my favorite running backs from that time, Doug Martin, and playing against guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick and OJ Howard in practice. What was it like every day knowing that you were going to be mic'd, not only on the field, but in meetings and individual meetings and going into offices, etc.?
It was pretty stressful, to be honest. I really wasn't a fan of it at the time, just because when I kind of started to become a part of the show, the media and the cameras followed me everywhere. And I was an undrafted rookie. I felt like I hadn't done anything yet. And the second they let the media in the locker room, a lot of them were coming over to me. And, I'm next to Gerald McCoy, and I'm next to all these other guys. And they're like, who the heck is this guy getting all the attention? And it was a little bit stressful at first. Like you said, I was mic'd up all the time. There was cameras in our meetings rooms all the time. But I think ultimately it was a positive thing for me, because it kind of got to show who I was as a player, and as a person a little bit. So in hindsight, I'm glad it happened, but while it was happening, it was stressful for sure.
Yeah, because I remember watching it for the first time, and all of a sudden, your name popped up on the screen. We're like, wait a second. I'm like, this, and starting to hear you talk and all that stuff. Like that's Riley Bullough. That's one of our guys, and just hearing, like you would, be talking about, and when you had the longer hair at the time during the show, one part that made me laugh out loud actually when you were talking to Doug Martin. And he, you talking about saying that you were Joe Dirt and stuff like that. Did you give yourself that name, or did somebody on that team give you that nickname?
No, I didn't. I didn't give myself the name. I forgot who did now.
It sounded like Doug Martin gave you that name a little bit because he was talking about it during the show.
I can't remember now who gave me that name. I can't remember, but yeah, then once I got that nickname, it was off from there. It was people recognizing me everywhere, calling me Joe Dirt in public. I mean, it was nuts.
It was also great to see you talking with, engaging with the fans and stuff like that, and signing and all that, being on camera and stuff like that. So that was awesome. How was experiencing with the fans in Tampa? Like, was it a positive experience meeting them for the first time as you're a rookie? Did they embrace you and welcome you into the Buccaneer culture?
Definitely, 100%. I was surprised at how much they took me in, and a lot of it was because of the show. Definitely, most people wouldn't have known who I was until the show came out. So it was great being with the fans. They were, I mean, again, they all called me Joe Dirt. Like every time I'd walk on the field or after practice, you'd hear people yelling Joe Dirt, especially back when I still had the long hair. So it was great. Love the Bucs fans are awesome. To this day, I still get Bucs fans that reach out to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. So going back to being on the show, being Mike, did you have to like going into practice? Did you have to watch what you were saying before practice, or was it just unfiltered and uncut and just say whatever you wanted, just like as if they weren't even there?
I pretty much, acted like they weren't even there. I was just being myself. When you're in that, you're not really thinking that you're mic'd up and you're like, oh my God, I got to watch what I say. Maybe for the first couple minutes, but once you get into practice, it's practice time. And, whatever comes on the mic is going to come on the mic. And I'm pretty sure before they aired anything, Coach Cutter had to watch the episodes and okay it. I think I could be wrong on that. But
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
That's it, because I've been watching this show with obviously with the different teams that they follow around every single season for years. They haven't announced who they're going to be going around with this year, but hopefully it's going to be a good season. But that's just it was an awesome thing to watch. In fact, I'm actually later today I'm actually going to go back and watch it just to watch that entire team and watch you again, because that was just awesome, because it's hard to find those clips on the internet. So, so now you would spend some time on the practice squad with Tampa before being promoted to the active roster and being named the starter. So take me through your first experience as a starter, and who was your first start against?
Well, so my rookie year, you're right, I was on practice squad and then played the last 3 games on active. That was basically special teams and a little bit of defense here and there. And I mean, my first game in the NFL was Monday Night Football against the Falcons. So that was pretty cool. That was 2017. And then 2018 is when I did get a few starts. I can't remember who my first start was. It might have been the 49ers, but I started against the 49ers. I started against the Ravens and then against the Giants, and then kind of sparingly on defense other than that, if I can remember right. So just a great experience. I mean, to be able to start on an NFL team for any amount of games, even one game, is great in my mind.
How much was it stressful going into games knowing that you were going to be a starting linebacker, especially in those primetime situations like Monday night or Sunday night or Thursday night football and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's stressful. I was never a starter on defense per se in a Monday night or a Sunday night game. But being a starter on defense, in an NFL game is pretty stressful, just because you don't want to let your teammates down. I mean, your teammates are guys that you might have watched when you were in high school and they're still on the team and now you're playing with them. So you don't want to let them down. That was the most stress, for me, going into games and playing quite a bit. But it was awesome playing with those guys. Still talk to a lot of my Buccaneers teammates as well to this day.
Like who do you, for example, who are you most close with now after you're playing days? Like, you talk to guys that are still in the NFL, that are still on the Buccaneers or in different organizations, or guys that have moved on from the game.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the spectrum. I still know a lot of guys in the NFL. I know a lot of guys that are done. But Buccaneers, it was mainly all the linebackers that were there. We're still pretty close. And then Pat O'Connor, who I'm best friends with, he's still there. Still talk to Levante David, all those guys, and then all the guys that were in my class. We don't talk as much now, but we could get on the phone and chat if something came up.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's knowing that do you still watch some of your former teammates like Fitzmagic, who just signed with Washington, and like you said, Levante David, who's still with Tampa Bay and stuff like that? Do you still watch those guys?
Absolutely. I definitely watch the Buccaneers. I actually talked to Fitz on the phone about a month and a half ago,
Huh.
just to stay in touch because he's such a funny guy. But yeah, for sure, I still watch a lot of my former teammates and friends all the time.
I mean, that guy, he is a cool dude. That guy, throughout his entire career, has been an awesome guy. I hope that he's going to have great success this year coming up with Washington, because he had really great success with you guys at the Buccaneers. I remember that he had great seasons, and with the Dolphins before that as well. So after spending 2 seasons with Tampa, you signed with the Tennessee Titans. So tell me, what was the culture change like when you got to Nashville versus Tampa?
So the Titans, they have a great culture. It's just different when all my best friends were on the Bucs at the time, and then you get called up to the office, say you're getting cut, and then you're on a plane the next morning to a new team with all new guys. It all happens so fast. But the Titans, it was great. It was a great locker room. Coach Vrabel's awesome. All the coaches there were great. It's just different when you gotta just pick up and leave and meet a whole new group of guys, learn a new defense. It's tough.
Yeah, and can't imagine that. But going into it, it's the overall different culture change because first of all it's a different conference, different division, stuff like that. And I've wanted he was your teammate, and to this day I've wanted to ask somebody who played or was with this particular player, how big is Derrick Henry? Because he looks like an absolute monster. Because we call him the monster for fantasy in our fantasy football league. So, did you have a chance to talk to Derrick and any other Titan teammates where you're in Tennessee? And did you break
Yeah.
close bonds, close friendships with those guys, and you keep contact with those guys in Tennessee?
Yeah, I talked with Derek while I was there, definitely, because we played against each other in 2015 when we played Bama. He was there.
Yep.
Um, but you think Derek's big on TV? He's even bigger in person. It seems like when you're sitting next to him. But great, Derek's awesome. He's such a nice guy, easy to talk to. Again, everyone in the Titans. I was close with the linebackers. And I think they have a chance to be really good this season. So they're another team that I'll be watching this fall.
All right. So now, finally, two more questions for you, Riley. Even though you announced your retirement in 2019, uh, is there any like possibility, like if say if like an NFL team gave you a call or CFL team gave you a call saying, we want to have you for a workout or we have a potential, we want to sign you, would you be interested in something like that, or have you completely moved on from the game?
No, I'm not interested anymore. I had some calls in 2019 to get some workouts or even get picked up, and it just I was ready to move on. When I got hurt in preseason in 2019 with the Titans, I messed up my elbow and arm pretty bad, and there's some other injuries that I have and have accumulated over time that I just wouldn't feel comfortable playing anymore. I don't think it would be good for me to be out there. It'd be good for anybody. So I'm happy with what I'm doing now, and I had a great time playing football. I played since I was 7 years old up until I was in my mid 20s. So it was a great time, but definitely have definitely not going back.
Yeah, and that's a totally respect, injuries and stuff like that. You don't want to tamper with. You don't want to, try and go back out there and re-aggravate it into something worse or have something completely new, a completely new injury and stuff like that. So, so your time in football is done. So, what do you do now? So, what are you up to now?
So I work in real estate. So I'm a realtor here in Traverse City, Michigan. Own rental properties and do some property management. So I'm kind of all over the real estate spectrum a little bit. And it's been great. I mean, the real estate market is absolutely nuts right now. So we're busy, and it's fun. It's something that I have a passion for, and I'm excited to work in real estate for the rest of my life. It's something, again, I really enjoy. So that's what I'm doing right now.
All right. Yeah. That's a great profession to have. Is that something that you majored at Michigan State?
No, I was in TV and radio and communications. I had like a 2.6 GPA, so I wasn't great in school. I didn't really in college. I was just focused on football. The real estate stuff kind of came after while I was in the NFL. Started meeting with some people who were in real estate, sitting down with them and kind of learning the game a little bit, and then just kind of grown from there.
Absolutely. And that's all I have for you, Riley. Thank you so much for coming on. It really means a lot to me, especially because you are the 40th guest to have ever appeared on this show. And one of the countless Spartans from those Rose Bowl and Cotton Bowl teams that we've had on. A pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we get to meet soon. Hopefully maybe at at Mike Sadler's legacy celebration this July.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Riley. Please stay in touch as always.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. You have a good one. All right.
You too. Bye.
Man, that was awesome. I mean, just the Bullough bloodline at Michigan State, going all the way back from the 50s to his grandfather Hank to now, or until most recently with Byron graduating, being the last one. There's going to be more Bulloughs probably coming up in the future. And then to his experiences playing in the NFL with Tampa Bay and being on Hard Knocks, which is still available on HBO. It's the 2017 season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if you haven't seen that season, go check it out. It's pretty awesome. I know I'm going to go rewatch it again just because I was just talking to Riley about it. So that will do it for this installment of the Hot Seat Sports Talk. Please make sure to subscribe, hit that bell icon. Make sure you get all of our notifications. Follow us on Facebook. It's Aaron Gemmel, THSST, and on Instagram, _hot seat, all in one, _sports talk. So make sure so you can get all the notifications for when our next episode will come up. And until the next installment of the Hot Seat Sports Talk, as always, keep it fresh.